So this little pit bike is the Evoltrix, or at least that's how I think you say the brand name, but it's labeled as the MAX-60. This little guy has 60 volts of battery power and motor power, and it's got up to 5,500 claimed watts. This thing is an absolute beast. It's a mid-drive, so it's a true actual e-moto. This is not a rear hub bike claiming to be an e-moto. It's actually a mid-drive motor with a true e-moto chain and drivetrain system. You're getting some really cool stuff on this bike. The fact that this thing comes in right at about $1,000, guys, is absolutely crazy. Yeah, that's the price for this 60 volt system. It's got a 21 amp hour battery. It's got a 12-inch 80 by 100 tire in the back, a 14 by 80 100 tire up front, and this is actual moto tread. These things are super, super tough and really strong. I am blown away by this. Guys, I owned an E-Ride Pro for quite a while, an E-Ride Pro 3.0, and the component durability, the way that this looks just like the E-Ride Pro. The rims seem to be super tough. The spokes have a really thick gauge. Even the brake system is an e-moto brake system. This rotor is very, very thick. It's a floating rotor setup that attaches in here to the hub. And then you've got a 2-piston caliper right here that actually uses dot fluid. So this thing is truly beefed up for some actual off-road fun. Everything on this bike is absolutely blacked out, looks so good. The only thing you're getting that's silver on this bike is going to be the spokes, a little bit on the hubs, some on the front suspension stanchion, and a little bit on the braking system. But everything else is blacked out, and you can really sticker this thing up to make it exactly what you want. And the actual body looks really good. Like the welds look really quality. The plastic casing on the outside looks really, really good and durable. This is pretty stinking surprising. And one other thing that's kind of surprising about this bike is that it has everything that you could potentially make this a street legal bike. It has turn signals, it's got a license plate holder, it's got a headlight, it's got taillights, it's got a speedometer on it. It has everything that I think you would need to potentially be able to register this and ride it out on the actual road. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to be riding this on my backyard trails and through some fields that are right around my house. And we're going to have a good time ripping around on this. So I do think that this bike is truly designed for off-road use only. However, it's got the potential maybe to actually be registered to be able to be ridden on the road. If you guys have registered anything like this with turn signals, brake lights, headlight, all the stuff that this comes on it, what was your process that you had to go through? Do you think that this could actually be registered? Because if it could be a fun little ripper around town to get you to and from maybe work or maybe just up to the store. Now, this is a pit style bike, so it's going to be pretty small. Typically, whenever I'm sitting on the seat, I am all the way back here, but I do have to say this seat is nice and comfortable, very, very forgiving. I feel like there's a nice area right here that you can rest your knees up against whenever you get going really fast. Overall, I have been very comfortable on this bike, and I've actually let Cody, who you've seen in another video, who helped me test ride the Mac Fox versus the Juice bike, ride this around. And he says this is his favorite bike that I have ever received. And he has truly been ripping around the yard on this, having a really good time. It goes upwards of about 50 miles an hour. Check this out, guys. Watch how quick this bike can go without any weight on it. I personally have seen this thing go upwards of about 40 miles an hour, but I haven't been brave enough to get it up any faster than that. That's insane. Now let's talk about the suspension on this bike. This has a coil suspension in the back that has some adjustability and also an air inlet. I personally haven't made any adjustments. I found that this bike was super plush right out of the gate. I weigh about 180 pounds and it was very, very comfortable for me. Now, whenever you look up here at this front suspension, it is an inverted fork, so that's true moto style. And it seems like it's really, really beefy. Now, there's no adjustability to this, but like I said, I've been very pleased with it. I think it feels really good for this style of bike. Now, if you're really into motocross or e-motos, you may have experienced higher end suspension than this, but I think for a pit bike that comes in right around $1,000, this suspension is really above what its price point is, in my opinion. I would expect to hear a lot of clunking, a lot of noise for $1,000. This bike is pretty quiet going around my yard and my backyard trail. The only thing that you really hear is the chain and the motor, which is pretty typical of an e-moto. So no abnormal clunking in the suspension, which I really appreciate. Now, looking up front here, you do get this nice number plate. It did come pre-numbered. I do wish that they had stickers that I could have put on myself. Came pre-numbered with this 01. Not a big deal at all. This could peel off. You could put on whatever you want. You have this nice fender right here up front that gives it a real aggressive motocross style look. And you have this really good headlight. I'm pretty impressed with this. We actually rode this around out on the backyard trail at night, and we were easily able to see where we were going. A nice, powerful headlight for being able to do some fun rides at night. And probably one of the most important things when it comes to riding at high speeds is being able to stop those high speeds. And these brakes are moto brakes on here. They're not bicycle brakes like you would expect to see on a lot of bikes that come in at this price point. It's using .3 or .4 fluid, your choice, and it's already set up. The lines on this are extremely thick. Again, this reminds me a lot of my E-Ride Pro when it comes to how thick the metals are, how big the parts are, how thick the hoses are. This is actually a real true e-moto or moto style setup on here. Albeit it may not be high end, but I have not been disappointed and I haven't felt any issues when it comes to the braking. Now the brakes, you do get a front disc rotor over on the left side over there, and it's going to be 2-piston hydraulic. This one's a little bit easier to see. Same rotor and same caliper in the back here. Looks to be 2-piston, and it looks to be a floating rotor setup. Super thick. I mean, this disc is very, very thick, and it's bolted right on there with these nice kind of floating calipers, so they kind of self-align themselves like you would expect out of a motocross bike. You do get a pretty good mud guard back here. I appreciate this. As you guys can see, we've already got some mud on there. If that wasn't there, that would be all over my suspension and then all over the motor on the inside. Now, when it comes to long-term durability, I don't know. I've only put about 3 or 4 miles on this bike playing around in my backyard, but I don't think this bike is designed to go hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles with hours and hours of riding. I think this is something that you take to, say, the motocross track, or you goof around in a field or out by your house, and you're just going to be playing around on this. After all, guys, we are talking $1,000 for a 60-volt pit bike. That's kind of mind-blowing. For the hours that I have spent on this playing around and that Cody has spent on this playing around, I would think we both agree that for $1,000 and the amount of time that we played on this, that this thing is well worth the money. Now, along with the headlight, you do get this taillight on here. I think I might have mounted this bracket backwards, but I'm not really sure. But you do have a license plate holder down here if you need to attach any sort of license plate. But you've got a taillight that works with the brakes, and it also has turn signals built in. So this is just a nice little feature that I didn't expect to have on a pit bike that it would be traditionally ridden off-road anyways. And then on top of that, you get this nice little mud guard here that helps prevent any of that mud from coming back up and slinging back up on you. Now, something that I would expect on a moto, but I don't expect on an e-bike, is a key actual ignition. I like the fact that this has to have a key to be able to turn this bike on. And I also appreciate that once you turn it on, it locks itself into park. And the only way to get this out of park is to squeeze the brake lever and hold it for a second, and then it switches over to where you can actually ride it. You do have 3 pedal assist levels, or power levels, I should say. 1 is going to get you about 20 miles an hour. 2, I think, gets you up to closer to 30. And 3 will give you the maximum power of potentially going 50 to 55 miles an hour. You've got a battery level indicator. You've got a headlight indicator right there. And then you've got some stuff where you can go through your menu. So it's showing 64 volts right now, pretty much a full power charge. And I've actually got 7.4 miles, and I have just been riding this around my backyard. But But a couple other key features on this that make it really nice. You do have hazard lights. Mine do not work. They were broken from the get-go whenever I got it. Not a big deal. I'm not concerned about that. But you have a headlight button right there. You have turn signals, and then you also have a horn. So again, I don't know if you could, but it seems like it's got everything that it needs to be able to register this to be able to be roadworthy. Now, when it comes to the grips on this, these are super plasticky, nothing special, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't change these out if you got real serious about this. They do kind of rotate on me a little bit, which is a little bit annoying, but for the price point that this bike comes in at, I think I could spend 30, 40 bucks and get some nicer grips that would potentially lock on. And speaking of grips, you do get a full twist throttle right here. So this does represent more of a motorcycle or motocross style bike without having that quarter twist like an e-bike would have. This has a full twist throttle. I would say the overall cockpit design on this is really nice. The bars kind of have an upturned design to them. Very comfortable. They seem to be wide enough. And whenever I've ridden this bike around the backyard, it's felt very comfortable. I've been very pleased with how this bike rides, how it feels, and how sturdy it is at higher speeds. Now, if you want to charge the bike, over here on the left-hand side, there is a port, a 60-volt port. This locks into place whenever you actually lock the charger in there. So it's nice that somebody came up, tripped, and hit that, they wouldn't be knocking that charger out. Now, if you want to get to the battery, you simply have to undo this kind of thumb thread kind of bolt thing here. And it is attached with a string, which is nice. So this won't just fall off. And then you can just simply raise the seat up. And then you have access to your battery. Now, on the Amazon page, it says that this is UL certified. I do not see any stamps on this battery at all saying that it's actually UL certified. The cords and the plugs all look really nice. I do have to say this battery is so much easier to get out of this bike than my E-Ride Pro. I would suspect that my E-Ride Pro was higher quality, but it's nice that I can easily undo this cable right here and just easily be able to pull this battery out if I wanted to. The controller, I assume, is going to be right back here where all the wires are running. And then if we look up front here, you do see some heat sinks right here that will cool this down. And what I really appreciate is the fact that, one, it's got heat sinks to cool us down, but looking back down here, you do have all of this nice guarded kind of, feels like plastic, but it's protecting the motor from getting dirt on it. It's protecting the controller from getting dirt on it. The only vents that you have are going to be right over here on the sides. So there's not a lot of ingress points for water, debris, dirt, mud, all that to get in there. But I think there's probably enough area for that motor to stay cool and that